Israelites. Until 1913, after a man by the name of Moorish Ali, who had been trained in the Far East as an Egyptian adept, came back with the information of our true history and identity. With the war cry, come all ye Asiatics of North America, and hear the truth about your birthright and nationality. Come link yourself back to the family of nations. And thus this five-pointed star of peace, said, love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice, introduced to our flag. Mind you now, these sets of flags have been on this country for over 50,000 years. All right? So now another flag that came along with it was the real United States flag. This is the real continental United States flag. It is a red flag with a white canton and a green arrow streak, introducing up to heaven. This is your flag. And this continental United States street flag was the flag that was flown from Alaska to Chile. And they're all Americans. Puerto Ricans are Americans. Excuse me, Puerto Ricans are Americans. Saskatchewan from the Dominican, they are Americans. Peruvians are Americans. The Americas, or the Almorocans, or the Almorocas, or Almoroc, which is the original name of your country, also a Mexican. And then in latter days, Northwest and Southwest Africa. So these three flags in progression, the ancient Moabite flag, your Moorish national flag, and your continental United States flag. These are yours by birthright and inheritance. They've been in this country for 50,000 years. Now there are other flags that came along. This one right here, the United Washita Day W Money. I'll just touch briefly on it. We Washita have proven chronologically that we can trace our bloodline all the way back to the ancient Olmecs that you hear about in your history book. And in the doctrine of the temple, when we say that we're descendants of Moroccans and born in America, these are the Moroccans we're talking about. Because those Olmecs are descendants of Malian Moors who came here some 50,000 years ago and founded that Olmec civilization, and then made a progression, broke off, and became the Mexicans and the Aztecs and the Peruvians, and kept on going up north, and they became the Washoe people, or the Raccoon people, and Washoe turned into Washita, and we were also the mound builders. You see all these hills all over the country, all up and down the Mississippi River. These were there millennium before the pyramids of Giza. With all due respect to the Comedian history, or the Egyptian history, these mounds existed at the beginning of time. But if you don't know your history and know your connection to it, you'll feel like the only place you belong is in that continent called Kibulan. Well, I'm not going to touch too much on the United Washita because, as I said, we have Dr. Aline here, the Crown Prince of the United Washita, and I want to give him the opportunity to give the full history of it. But out of the United Washita, we were allowed by the 24 elders in the United Washita to be the reestablishers of our own tribe. So our local tribe here is the Alatoa Sulagi Kinnawah Nation. And this tribe here is not only here in New England, it's in South Carolina, parts of North Carolina. So, we're trying to spread the gospel all over. That being a brief history, and understanding that, hopefully understanding that your history did not begin in the 15, 16, and 1700s. You already paving streets and making street lights and carrying on by that time. How else is it that you learn in school that all of these people in know anything and has no education. How is that? No one asks these questions. We claim we had a problem in school that we had to integrate, but then you had Charles Drew that did plasma. How did we learn that? George Washington Carver, you did everything there with peanuts. Peanuts. You know? But we need education. That's crazy. We have just hold on a second. Elders, did y'all want to did y'all want to come in at any time? I'm just doing a brief introduction. All right. Okay. So, are there any questions? You know, while the elders get set up and everything, about anything that I've talked about so far? Yes.
Concerning the information that you just stated, where is the availability of facts?
Anything in specific? I mean,
I have a problem with, I've always had a problem with slave trade, but so much of the research that I have done personally, and my personal studies, where is it possible that I can find information to tell you that?
oh, well, listen, tell you what I did one day. I got curious and I went on to Google. And I put in Google, Moorish slave owners in South Carolina. And that's when it popped up that over 1,280 inhabitants of South Carolina were slave owners. And my particular family, the Mack family, has always owned at least 500 acres of land. And although they had big families, they still needed help to man their land. And those people, whether you call them indentured servants or slaves, they were there and they worked the land. And that land is still in our family. And no one knows who gave it to them because no one gave it to them. It was always theirs. So it's a combination of doing research via the internet and reading certain books. Elder Tosh to read back. Great. Yeah. So it's based on the research and dealing with people. You'll be surprised that once you come into this knowledge and you start demonstrating your fez and your turban, the people who know will come to you. They'll come to you. Well, you know what? Where have you guys been? I thought you guys were gone. Yeah, we know about the Moors. Well, how does that good person know about the Moors? We don't have a clue. I mean, on sidewalks, at side travel stations, rest stops, everywhere. When you demonstrate, these people let you know that they know who you are. You know, and it is that affirmation, sir, that makes you more and more confident about your identity as a Moorish American. See what I'm saying? Any other questions before the elders? Okay.
Well, if you don't mind me interjecting elders, I'd just like to introduce Ross Mariah and Taj Tariq, along with Jelani Bay. These are a couple of the esteemed panelists that brought out to you guys today. I'm hoping that by the end of tonight, those kind of interpersonal questions that you ask yourself in the dark or by yourself to yourself and don't let anyone know, that you'll kind of be open with yourself and ask these questions tonight. Now, on that note, besides waiting for another keynote speaker, I'm going to start off by playing devil's advocate with a couple of questions to get the ball rolling. And we have, as we're here in Charter Oak, we have nicely set aside a microphone for you, the audience, for your direct involvement and direct participation and interaction, and that mic is in the middle aisle down here on the floor, visible so everybody can see it. When that time comes, I'll ask any of the audience members if they have any questions, they can come up and do their thing. So moving on, first I would like to give the panelists a chance to briefly discuss anything that might be urgent on their list, urgent message on their list to go out to our people. And another reason for this event here, which I hope to have once a month, is to get everyone fully aware, woken up, no matter how bad you're going to yell at me, mad that I woke you up. We're trying to wake everybody up at this point because we don't have any need to engage with people that aren't woken already. We need to grab the ones that are woke and move forward. You got a little history on the flag and where that comes from. Another purpose for this meeting here, this congregation tonight, is to give you, the willing participants who came, a sense of self, a sense of knowledge of self, and to go home knowing you are a part of a nation. Even though we're scattered out there, we are a part of a nation. Everybody has their own nation. So do we. We are the mothers, fathers, sons, and daughters of civilization. So as I start with Ross Mariah, I would like to start letting everyone know that to get in touch with this elder here, especially on women's issues and women's ideas and questions, direct those things to her after we're done here. And everything else, administrative functions, what this all about, what's going on, Brother Jelani and Brother Taj Tariq. So as I start with Ross Mariah, I'll give all the panelists a chance to talk about what's prominent on their agenda and to get their message out, and then we'll go into a question and answer period from the audience.
Thank you. Islam, peace and love.
Islam.
Thank you for having me. I feel honored to be here and to hopefully be able to help wherever and however I can.
Honored to have you.
Thank you. It's interesting that you said women's issues because oftentimes we separate the two. And it's interesting that the whole issue that we're discussing or that has been discussed about your Moorish heritage and history is from your birthright. Meaning that it deals with your rights of birth, which means women cannot, absolutely are not eliminated from that because that's who gives birth. We have been taught by another system who taught against that natural order. That's a natural thing. No one comes here except through the womb, male or female. And we've been taught something differently in society, period. It's called a patriarchal thinking and a patriarchal manner of life. Now, it's not a patriarch against or versus the matriarch. That's like absurd and unheard of. Because the matriarch includes both mother and her son. Because that's all that's on the planet, is a mother